wearing the most exciting garment I have been in the presence of for a very long time. So my name is Seaton, and I'm going to hand over, and I run the prize, and I'm going to hand over immediately to Sean Maguire. Can you come in? I feel like I'm a lecturer, so I need you to come in and move to the front, and there may not be anywhere to sit at the back and have something to drink, and, you know.
I'll make this very brief. If I had a bit more time, I would have a Nick Cohen moment. Exactly. But unfortunately I've been at work today, so I'm not going to the pub. I'll keep this very, very brief, just to say that Reuters is very proud to sponsor these prizes. They are a very good thing. They need to continue. We've been involved for a few years, and we hope to continue to be involved in them. They celebrate everything about political writing that we would aspire to, on our best days, that we would emulate on our best days. And it's always great to have something to live up to have an example to show to one's colleagues. So, and she is a very wonderful thing too. She's given the prize new vigour, new life, and she is to be thanked and honoured as part of these proceedings as well. So, a big cheer for Gina. So let's proceed.
Thanks very much. I'm David Taylor. I'm chair of the Orwell Trust. I am indeed wearing George Orwell's tie, given to him by Seaton. This was 1949, but alas, unworn as he was on his deathbed. I'm allowed to wear it once a year. My wife doesn't approve of me wearing dead men's clothing. I'd just like to start very briefly by thanking you all for coming. Really good turnout this year. The prize goes from strength to strength. I'd like to thank our sponsors, the Media Standards Trust, Reuters, whose representative you already just heard, the Political Quarterly, Richard Blair, George Orwell's son, continues to support us most generally, and Orwell's estate and literary agents, AMP. Thank you to those, and to our distinguished judges, who you'll hear from in a moment, and also from Jean Seaton, who has already been remarked as moving the prize from strength to strength. There's just one thing that we'd like to do before we begin, which is to pay a very small and short tribute to the late Professor Sir Bernard Crick, who died not long ago. What I'd like to say about him, before Tony Wright MP comes to say a few words, is that, of course, Bernard, amongst many other accomplishments, was the first Orwell biographer. It was he who took on the widow and defeated her. And if it hadn't been for him, the furrow that other biographers, including myself, have ploughed over the intervening years would not have happened. We owe a great deal to Bernard for that. We owe him the first biography of George Orwell, and we also owe him the idea for this prize. And the presence of you all here, and what we're going to hear over the next few minutes, is, I think, a tribute to his memory. If we just have Tony Wright come and say a few words. Thank you.
Well, Bernard, Sir Bernard, is sort of the ghost in the room, isn't he?
Yeah.
We've never had one of these occasions without Bernard. This is not the moment to talk at length about him. We're going to have a memorial service in June, and perhaps many of you here will want to come to that. There's no way of summing up Bernard. If you knew him, you'll know what I mean. If you didn't know him, I can say anything I want. He was often utterly impossible, but we forgave him his impossibility by the fact that he was a man of such fixed loyalties, at least in his public life. I wrote a book 30 years ago, and Bernard reviewed it and liked it and wrote to me, and he became a kind of patron for me, as he did for many young scholars at the time, and that was one of his great features. But he did have these fixed loyalties. He believed in his version of democratic socialism, he believed in citizenship, active citizenship, and he believed in decency, to use a very Orwellian word. And he stuck with these things year in, year out, good times, bad times. And he gave birth to the Orwell Prize. He gave birth to it, and he nurtured it, and nourished it, and saw it develop until the time came when it could be taken into care proceedings and handed over to somebody else. we owe Bernard. He was a really great public intellectual, and we owe him an enormous amount in this country, and we particularly owe him the Orwell Prize, which, as we've heard, has gone from strength to strength, as we see tonight. So I'm going to ask you just simply to, because Bernard is not here, can we just raise our glasses and say, hello, Bernard.
Jim, I think it's all yours.
No, it's the judges.
It's the judges.
It's the judges.
Well, it's the event is now yours.
Yes, no, Bernard was talked in the most extraordinary way. That's what I remember about Bernard. He would say things in parentheses, which were utterly malicious, utterly bullying, and quite often utterly true. But you could never fucking well answer them because they were in parentheses. And he was just a very, very extraordinary human, and that seems to be a wonderful, wonderful thing.